So let me ask you something real quick. When is the last time you actually stopped? Not scroll, not switch tabs, not put something on in the background so you didn't have to sit in the quiet. I mean, actually stop. Because for a lot of people, even when the body sits down, the mind never does. And what I realized is that's not busyness. That's someone who doesn't feel safe with being still. And nobody really talks about that part. We talk a lot about slowing down, but what happens when slowing down feels worse than staying busy? That's where this episode starts. Welcome back to Word Forward, y'all. I'm Damien J and this is episode 11, and a little bit personal, because I'm not just talking about something I read, right, or something I observed from a distance. I'm talking about something that happened to me, and it taught me something that I thought I already knew. But apparently, I needed to learn it again, the hard way. We're talking about decompression, not escaping your life, not numbing it out either, not the self-care in the catch and friendly sense. I mean actually giving yourself a chance to breathe. There's a difference, and we're going to get into that today. So here's what happened, right? I had real momentum going on at this time. Like the kind of momentum that you don't want to touch because you're afraid something's going to break. That kind of motion. Episodes are lining up. Clients are calling. The content is flowing. My energy is right. I was in that zone, where everything just connects. Y'all know that feeling. It's when you're like, yeah, I'm locked in right now. And then I get sick out the blue. Not that I could push through this kind of sick either. My body said, nah, a whole full stop. And I remember thinking, I'll shake this off maybe a couple of days. Nope. And here's the big part about that. I've been sick before. Everybody has that weak day once in a while. But this part felt different because of where I was mentally when it hit. I wasn't just in the middle of a regular week. I was in the middle of some real rare momentum at the time. In the middle of a strong rhythm, in the middle of building something. So being forced to stop didn't just feel like an inconvenient moment. It felt like I pulled away from something that I fought a long time to get into. And what messed me up the most about being sick, it was the fact that I couldn't really move. And moving was all I really knew how to do. I was just sitting there, not able to create, not able to record. I wasn't even able to breathe or talk. And that low key had me irritated. Not even just the sickness. It's because I'm thinking, why couldn't I just be okay with sitting down right now? And the crazy part about that is my body really needed the rest, but my mind was still running through all these numbers. It was still making lists, still thinking about what I wasn't getting done, what was falling behind at the moment, and what other people might be doing while I'm just sitting around trying to feel better. And at some point, I caught myself doing that. And I had to ask, why is resting making me feel more anxious than all the work that I was just doing? That question is sat with me, right? Because it shouldn't have felt like that. But it did. And when you're wired to move or create, when showing up becomes a part of your personality and your identity, being forced to stop, it doesn't just feel inconvenient at the moment. It starts to feel like failure for real. And that reaction right there, that's the thing I'm here to talk about. Because if I could only feel good about myself when I'm producing something or when I'm working, then I didn't actually learn how to be still with myself. Here's what that week actually showed me. If 1 week of forced stillness could make it feel like everything is falling apart, then I wasn't really building momentum. I was depending on it to feel okay. And that's a fragile place to operate from because life isn't going to stop interrupting you. It never has, and it never will. Sickness, family, low energy days, them unexpected hits to your confidence, them seasonal shifts, those pesky mental fogs that we might get, all of it. Those days are coming for everybody. So the real question is, can you stop without feeling like losing and like everything is falling apart? Or does slowing down automatically make you feel like you're falling behind? I'll be honest about where I was. For a long time, stopping made me feel like I was slipping up. Like everybody was still in motion and I was just the only one falling off at the moment. And even when that wasn't the truth, that's just how I felt. And the reason that I had felt like that is because I tied my value to my velocity, how fast I was moving, how much I was really putting out, and how consistent I was being, how much I could show myself. And when the velocity stopped, even for a week, so did my sense of worth. And that's not a productivity problem. That's an identity problem. And you won't be able to solve an identity problem with a better schedule. But now here's where I want to make the distinction, right? Because when most people think that they're decompressing, they're actually just escaping something. But I'm not here to judge how people unwind, right? We all have our things. I got mine. But there is a difference and it matters. Escaping only avoids pressure. It delays what you need to feel. It just numbs the noise without you having to actually process it. So you come back to the same weight and it's sometimes even heavier on you. Decompression is different though. It processes all that pressure and it helps you understand what you're really carrying. It lets your system actually settle. So now you return as a lighter you, actually resetting this time. One of them helps you face your life, and the other one helps you forget things just for a little while. And if you're not careful with that, you start calling escape taking a break. You start scrolling your phone for like 3 hours straight, and that's usually how most people escape these days. And a lot of us don't even realize that. It might feel like we're relaxing, but in reality, we're just avoiding being alone with our own thoughts. Because the moment it gets too quiet, everything you've been pushing off, it starts knocking on your mind. That text you didn't want to answer, the pressure you didn't want to name, the decisions that you keep putting off, and those things that you try not to face. And most people would like to stay distracted than to open that door for real. Okay, but here's the thing about that door, right? It doesn't go anywhere. It just sits there, it waits on you. And every time you escape instead of really decompress, those knocks get louder. But I want to touch on something that's real relevant right now. Because around this time of year, people like to talk about relaxing a lot. Taking the edge off, unwinding, celebrating, checking out. And I'm not here to tell y'all how to live your life, but I want to ask you this, and I want you to actually think about it. Are you decompressing, or are you just delaying what you need to start dealing with? Because those are not the same things. One will leave you clearer on the other side. The other one just moves the weight until tomorrow, and tomorrow always shows up. So what does decompression actually look like then? It doesn't always look like a day spa or a vacation. That's not real for a lot of people. Real decompression, it looks like sitting through something long enough to hear your own thoughts open up again. And that's a part that a lot of people don't really like, because when it gets too quiet, you can't hide from yourself anymore. You hear all the stress you have, you hear the pressure that's on you, you hear all the things that you've been putting off. And people would rather stay distracted than to sit in that, even for a few minutes. And here's what I found out, right? And this took me a while to really believe, but the things that you're avoiding in the quiet, is not always as loud once you finally sit with them. They stay huge only because you keep running from them. But the moment that you sit with something to actually name it, it starts having that grip on you. But not all of it, most of it, and that matters big time. Sometimes the awareness of that itself, it starts a release. It looks like stepping away without running away. It looks like giving your mind some healthy space without immediately filling that space with something else. And for me personally, sometimes it's just gaming, just zoning out for a long time and letting my brain reset without even needing to produce anything. That's actually a part of why I built the Gamerhood. It's just a space to decompress, not escape, but actually reset yourself. And for all my gamers, I'll leave that in the description if you ever want to find me or need it. But whatever it looks like to you, the goal is to come back to yourself, not escape from yourself. This distinction matters more than people realize. So here's what that week sick on the couch actually taught me. Rest isn't a reward that you earn after you break yourself down. Slowing down isn't failure either. And decompression, it isn't luxury for people. It's a needed maintenance. Most people don't treat it like that. We treat rest like it's something that we have to earn, right? Like we gotta break ourselves down first before we're allowed to try to even slow down a little bit. And that mindset right there, that's what leads to burnout. Like, think about anything that you want to keep running on a long-term basis. A car, a business, your relationships, your body, your mind. You don't have to wait until it breaks to maintain it. You have to adjust the maintenance before it reaches its breaking point. Because if you skip through those long enough, you won't get a chance to choose when to stop. You'll just stop. And that's what burnout really looks like. Not one hard day, not a tough week. It's spending all your reserve up without even trying to refill it. And then one day you just realize you don't have it anymore. You don't have the patience, you don't have the energy, the clarity, or the drive. And you can't even figure out when it bounced on you. That's why decompression matters. It's not a treat and it's not a reward. It has to become part of your structure to survive. If you skip the maintenance on yourself long enough, you won't just slow down, you'll break down, and you won't get a chance to choose how to fix that. So the takeaway is rest isn't a reward after you hurt yourself. It's needed maintenance, and if you skip the maintenance, you won't get a chance to choose how to build yourself back up. Things will just stop working. And the goal isn't to push yourself until you can't work anymore. It's to build something that you can actually sustain. So if you've been pushing yourself nonstop or been feeling like everything is starting to stack on top of you and you're feeling like slowing down means that you're falling behind or that you're failing, this is your reminder. You don't need to escape your life. You just need to learn how to stay in it without losing yourself in the process. Escaping things just avoids the pain, but resetting, it brings you back to the healing process. More clearer, steadier, stronger, and more grounded. And that version of you that's going to come back from a real reset, that version creates better. It thinks sharper. You will show up with a clearer head, and you will show up stronger. But only if you actually let yourself reset. Not almost relax. Not halfway put your feet up. Honestly this time. The goal isn't to always keep going until you can't move anymore. The goal is to build something that'll help you move a lot better. And that requires taking care of the person that's doing all the work. You. So if this episode hits you at all, send it to somebody else that's been running on empty and calling it discipline too. You already know who I'm talking about. And if you've been rocking with Word Forward, I really appreciate you. Nah, for real. This isn't just content anymore. This is a space where we actually could try to make sense of all the noise together and break things down. So follow Word Forward on all platforms at Spotify, Apple, YouTube, and drop a comment and tell me something. What does real decompression look like for you? I want to read those, and I'm going to respond too. The Gamerhood and the Inner Circle are both in the description for anyone who wants to have a safe space to decompress, or they just want to continue this topic a little more. This is Word Forward, y'all. I'll see you on the next one.